So, how will you handle Christmas this year with your finances? Today, we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, I've got a resource that you can go to, and you can get that question answered all at the prudentmoney.com website. Just go up to the top of the webpage, and you'll see a link, and you can get information one of two ways. You can send an email in, and I'll get that taken care of for you, or you can sign up on my calendar and we can have a phone call. Sometimes questions are a little bit more detailed and there's a lot more moving parts that we have to talk through, but I'm happy to do it. And there's no obligation. It's all no cost. And it's just part of what we do at Prudent Money. So go check it out. And if I've been getting a lot of emails lately, there's a lot of things on people's minds. One of the real advantages that I find to getting the opportunity to talk to listeners is that I start to hear and understand what's going on in their lives, and I can start to see certain trends occur where a lot of people are feeling the same way. And a lot of people are feeling the same way about Christmas and the pressure that Christmas can bring. Because it's all about the presents. It's all about the holiday parties. And it's also all about the inflation. And we're gonna be talking. We're gonna cover this, and I do this once a year. I guess you can call it my annual Christmas Finance Debt Show. And we're going to talk about what other people are doing, what some of the surveys say, and some things that you can do to limit the damage. We all want to take care of our kids at Christmas. We all want to not hold back. But sometimes it's going to call for that to happen. It just depends on how the finances are. So we'll be talking about that. You know what to do if you have a question, and we'll get you all taken care of at prudentmoney.com. Now, the theme that I want to stick with is one that I've been talking about for a long time. That is that there's two realities taking place. There's one reality that says everybody's in great shape, everybody is is doing good, unemployment is not a problem, the economy is strong, and people are going to open their pocketbooks and spend some money at Christmas. No problem. Now, keep in mind that from a pure politician, I know I said the word, sorry. I know everybody's just getting over this. Getting over politics. I don't mean to say the word, but I'm saying the word so you can understand why I'm saying it. See, we're still on Biden's watch until January. So, he wants to close out the term good. He wants to be able to show that his numbers are going to end up well. So there's a little bit of political window dressing going on to make things look maybe not so much like they really are. Then there's what I think is more of the reality. However, I think it's really kind of in the middle of the extremes. If you took pure 100% prosperity at one end and you took really tough times down at the other end, and you put it in the middle, but leaning towards the tough times. I think that's where we are. And people are, and it's interesting because you can watch people's attitudes and actions through what their behaviors, and a little bit through these. I've always had an issue with surveys being what they are. I mean, I think it's kind of hard for me to grasp the possibility that 1,000 people that can be interviewed and surveyed, that they represent 327 million people. But it gives us something to talk about, right? And they're probably, it gives, if anything at all, a survey gives a tone of what's going on. So this one, most of what I got for you today is from Wallet Hub. They do a phenomenal job. If you want to go read up on any of these surveys, you can go to wallethub.com and check it out. So first of all, Santa is on a budget. 68% of people say Santa will be less generous this year due to inflation. And that, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I was going to hop on the inflation topic, but we'll talk about that later. But here's the thing: inflation is real. You're not imagining it. It is not as bad as it was, and I still think it's not good. You're not imagining that either. Regardless of what the politicians say, of what they're going to do, what they've done, whatever, inflation is a problem, and it'll kind of ebb and flow, and at some point will stop increasing consumer prices. But it still has, and we'll talk about this here in a minute, it still has an effect. And we're going to be talking about breakfast sandwiches. How about that? And 68% of people say Santa will be less generous this year due to inflation. Lingering holiday debt. Nearly half of Americans still have debt from the holiday season last year. That used to be a shocking statistic. Now that is a statistic that comes out just about every year, and it's always about 50-60% of people have debt from last year. Now, you know how it is, and I'm only talking about this just to prepare you. It's like if you're about to go into a football game and I'm going to give you a pep talk, and you're a player. So it's going to be tempting if you've got room on your credit card. Say you've got a credit limit of $15,000 and you've only put $4,000 on it, and things are a little tight this year. You could always look at that and go, I could put $1,000 on my credit card and I can pay it off through the year and be done with it. In fact, I can add it in as a budget item, and I can borrow in December, pay off by next December, borrow for the next year, pay off by that next year, and borrow again. Just keep borrowing. So all your spending, I'll say it that way, is interest, but with interest in the 20 percentile. I'm not suggesting that you do that. I'm suggesting some of the ways that we rationalize, that's the word I'm looking for, rationalize the spending of credit, or the increasing of credit card debt. And then you can, if you've got $13,000 on your credit card, it goes up to $20,000, and you put $1,000 on there. What's it even mean? You're just hiding it amongst the other debt. It's not going to be that big of a deal because you've already got 13. I mean, I've heard them all. You classify the debt as a car expense and you put it in amongst your other debt. It kind of gets hidden. Then at some point it gets lost in the debt, and now you're just looking at the overall balance. There's a lot of ways we can rationalize how we're spending money. But just remember, at the end of the day, the problem with debt is that it starts to linger and it starts to get bigger, and you play the trick this year, then the next year you rationalize it this way, and then middle of the year you rationalize it because you want to go on a cruise with all your friends. I mean, you just keep going on and on and on, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and you got a huge debt problem. But that is the problem, and it becomes a serious situation overnight and can just sneak up on you. So be careful. And I know they're not easy decisions to make. Just be careful, and be careful with all of the 0% and the incentives to using a credit card and all that kind of thing. Holiday spending cuts. 31% of people say they'll spend less on holiday shopping this year than last year. But 68% of people say Santa will be less generous due to inflation. Those don't coincide. Those don't work together, do they? Uncharitable inflation. Nearly 3 in 4 Americans say their charitable giving is affected by inflation. New cards for shopping. 52% of people will apply for a new credit card to help with their holiday shopping. That's what I was talking about a while ago, because here's the problem. Unless it is 0% and you can pay it off within 12 months, 6 months, 15 months, whatever it is, it's still more than likely at an interest rate of the upper 20 percentile. It's not good, and that can get you into a world of trouble. So just be careful with that. Top holiday shopping motivators. 42% of Americans say their family influences their holiday shopping the most, while 37% point to social media and 17% say their friends have the biggest impact. AI shopping assist. 55% of people would like to outsource their shopping to an AI robot. You know, when I read stuff like that, it makes me wonder, are we just going to get lazy, completely lazy, let the robots do it, take care of things for us? Shoot, 55% of the people would like to outsource. I say 100% if you're going to use the robot. Now, okay, so I just got through with primarily a survey that says, hey, things are going to be tough. And people are going to do this. They're going to do things like open up new cards. They're going to be careful with their spending because they've got to. Now, I'm going to read you a very rosy, positive view. This gives you a different look at it. But we are coming up against a break, so stick around. And this is Bob Brooks. I'll be right back. Hi, my name is Bob Brooks, host of the Prudent Money Radio Show. So let me ask you a question. Do you know your numbers? Now, which numbers are those? They are your retirement numbers. That set of numbers is the single most important planning numbers you can know. Yet the majority of Americans don't even know them. Prudent Money Financial Services, sponsor of the Prudent Money Radio Show, specializes in figuring out those numbers and creating a game plan to make sure you're on the right track. Listen to the Prudent Money Radio Show weekdays at 3 p.m. on Bible School Radio 91.3.
Hi, I'm Jill Taylor, inviting you to join me each Saturday morning at 11 o'clock for Choose Life Radio. You'll hear people from across America sharing their stories of faith, forgiveness, redemption, and restoration. Choose Life Radio will encourage you to fully appreciate the gift of life. You may also find help for you or a friend in need. So please join me Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock right here on Bible School Radio 91.3.
Dynamic, practical, life-changing.
There's no point in going to church and not letting the Christ who gave birth to the church on the day of Pentecost change your life.
Join us each day as Pastor Paul Shepherd applies the timeless truth of Scripture to everyday life. It's Destined for Victory on this great station.
Weekday afternoons at 3:30 here on Bible School Radio, KDKR.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. If you got a question for me, go to the website at prudentmoney.com and go up to the top of the page. There's a link up there. Go click through and ask the question. I do answer all my questions. I love getting them. And if I can help, I certainly want to. It's no cost, no obligation. Please know that. And if that's not enough time to handle the question, you can always schedule something on my calendar. Excuse me, I couldn't find the word there. On my calendar, and we can get a phone call and get that taken care of. But there's no cost. Well, I want to stress that. I want you to feel comfortable using that, and we put that out there as a ministry to help people to get advice. So I was talking about Wallet Hub, their latest Christmas survey, and how it's not just really, it doesn't really tell the tale of a prosperous Christmas season. Then you get this from the National Retail Federation. The 2024 holiday shopping season is poised for unprecedented activity, with the National Retail Federation estimating a record 103.4 million shoppers across both online and in-store platforms from Thanksgiving Day to Cyber Monday. This reflects a surge in consumer enthusiasm for seasonal deals and traditions. The National Retail Federation is the world's largest retail trade association. Now, the pendulum is swung to the other side. Now, here is where this could be a little bit of good news. You know, people are on budgets. They're not spending money. They're going to cut back. So you need some good deals. And it may be what that is saying is they're estimating just that 3-day period, some great deals. And if there's ever a year to get out and go shopping on Black Friday or taking advantage of these deals or really hunting down good prices, this may be the opportunity for you to do that. In fact, the more I look at that, the more I now feel like that they're sending a message that, hey, this is a great opportunity. And if you were wanting to save money, then get out there and go shopping and get it done. Be organized. Do your research. You know, we've talked about all that. But they say this reflects a surge in consumer enthusiasm for seasonal deals and traditions. I don't know. It could go either way, but I would go for the positive spin on that, and that perhaps there will be some good deals there. Now, they go through these what the best credit cards for holiday shopping. And here's what I find funny is that they'll have, this is for excellent credit only. So you can't have below a 700 credit score. And their best rate is 21%. Goes all the way up to 29%. But their best rate is 21% for having a good credit score. Go figure. So please stay away from the credit cards unless you're fortunate enough not to have any credit card debt, or you can use a credit card that you can just pay off and pay off and pay off and pay off each month. Because when they give these offers for these credit cards, especially this time of the year, they're for the only person that benefits from it, because believe me, if you've got debt, you've got balances, you're not going to benefit from these cards. Ultimately, you're going to be paying a pretty heavy price. Won't feel like it at first, but they'll get you. They always do. This is for the person who uses credit cards as a transaction card only. They pay the bill. They pay at the cash register, or they pay online, then they pay the bill. And for that, which I can't even guess, I would guesstimate that would be probably 25%, 20% of the people who consumers who use credit cards or transaction period transaction type users of the credit card. So there you go. Now let's talk a little bit about national debt, because I did not get a chance to wish you this on Friday, but I'll do it today. Happy National Debt Day. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just scored a new record. Well, every day is a new record on national debt, but a solid record, a new milestone. We are now up over $36 trillion worth of debt. $36 trillion worth of debt. So happy National Debt Day. And I've been reading some interesting pieces, because this subject just really does interest me, of how President Trump is wanting, or is going to go start the process and attempt to get rid of all the wasteful spending and budget cuts and bring the deficit down and the national debt down. I've looked now. I mean, I just know little that I know. I'm obviously not in his cabinet to know the real numbers, but I just know if you look at the numbers are black and white. I mean, you look at the number. They're not going to cut They're not going to cut defense spending. They're not going to cut, health and resources. Or I mean, you look at the budget and you go, "There's nothing they can cut," and especially to put a dent in $36 trillion. So what they do to make the numbers look better, they float it out there over 10 years. It's the biggest charade ever and means, in my opinion, nothing. But this is the problem that every issue we have financially as a country stems from, is that we're just quick to borrow and worry about it later. And this has got a D-Day to it. Now, I get this question asked all the time. When will it matter? Well, it'll matter when it matters. I know that's not the greatest answer, but it will matter when it will matter. And when it's going to matter in a big way. So, having said that, let's talk. Credit card balances. This one. This actually had the latest update on credit card balances. Credit card balances climbed to $1.17 trillion after a third quarter increase of $24 billion. But the good news is that the share of debt lapsing into 30-day delinquency declined for the first time in roughly 3 years. And approximately 8.8% of credit card transitioned into delinquency in the third quarter, down from more than 9% in the second quarter, the New York Fed's household debt report says. Now, 8.8% to 9% is not going to move the needle. But hey, I guess you can celebrate everything, right? The third quarter credit card balances increased nearly 7% from a year ago, according to TransUnion. In 2023, those balances climbed 15% from the previous year. The same trend applied to 90-day delinquencies, where rates were still climbing but not as severe. Now, a company like TransUnion is a great resource because they have a copy of everybody's credit file and they know what's going on, so they can run. We have I can't think of his name, a gentleman on a couple of times a year, and he gives an update. He's got his hand on the button. I mean, he knows exactly, pretty darn accurate of what the debt and credit card transactions, everything looks like, because he has the whole database of TransUnion in front of him. But the 15% the balance has climbed 15% in 2023. This time around, they're looking at a smaller increase. 7% is what they were looking at. And, I think that in 2023, people probably weren't as careful because interest rates were not as high, nothing like they are right now. And I think that some of that's baked into those numbers of this one being smaller. And total household debt increased by $83 billion during the third quarter of 2024, which is roughly 6% below the record from 2008. So they always go back to the numbers in 2008, calling those the records. Well, they might be higher, but I think that our debt, the way it's constructed versus the way it was structured in 2008, is apples to oranges, and we actually are setting debt records. So that's something to definitely be aware of. But I have got way more to talk about on this subject, and we're probably going to have to do a part 2 and do it tomorrow. So I'll wrap up the last of this information, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Just remember, if you got a question, any kind of a question that you might have, you can always go to prudentmoney.com, send it in to the link at the top of the page, and you can also get some time on my calendar if you need a question we need to do by phone. So no cost, no obligation, and it's there for you and for those of you who listen, and I greatly appreciate that. And I want to make sure you have resources and advice. This is Bob Brooks. You got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.